welcome back. Today, we're going to be reviewing the 2022 cinematic epic directed by... Who directed this thing?
It doesn't matter.
Daniel Espinosa.
Oh, it actually kind of does matter. Daniel Espinosa did this thing. Oh my gosh.
Yes, he did. The 2022 film Morbius. Let's tell Morbius a story. Morbius was not supposed to be a 2022 movie. It was also not supposed to be a 2021 movie. Morbius was delayed for 2 years.
Yes.
First because of the pandemic, then because I guess it didn't want to compete with the other movies coming out, like
Every other movie that came out.
Or every other Marvel property that came out.
And if you think about it, it's actually a brilliant move by them. Because
I think they knew what they had.
Because it still reached number one. But in the second weekend, it had the biggest drop in cinematic history for a movie that made more than 30 million. It dropped 73% in its second weekend. It was probably smart that they delayed it for 2 years because they just wanted to pretend that this reality wouldn't, it would go away.
I'm not going to lie. It deserved to be dropped by more.
It dropped by 100%.
I wish it had.
No, I think more people should have seen it. It's amazing. It's an amazing movie.
You know what? You're right. It's the movie of the millennia. It's not a stretch of the imagination to say. By the way, full spoilers.
Yeah, full spoilers.
We're going to be talking about this entire movie, so you don't have to see it because we already did for you.
Although, when you think about it, what was there to spoil?
That's very true.
I can't think of a single plot point. I kid you not. And the only plot point that I can think of, and we're talking spoilers here, so if you're desperately worried about being spoiled, about Morbius, then leave now. But the only plot point I legitimately can remember is Milo / Lucian / Matt Smith / Marcus /
whatever.
10 other names that they gave him in the movie.
Whatever Skrull was taking over Matt Smith's body for the filming of this movie.
He's the only person I like that plot point. He turns bad, that literally happens in the first 20 minutes or something. That's all I can remember. And the girlfriend, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I do not remember her name.
Martine.
Girlfriend. No, I'm kidding. Martine. Is a vampire now. Wow, crazy. Whatever. That's all I can remember. So there. I mean,
okay.
Plot points.
Well, I have a few more than that because, and this is what. So before we filmed, I told Dylan that I had to tell him something when we recorded.
Yes.
So I watched this movie again.
No. What? How?
I watched it online, and man,
voluntarily.
Yes,
the whole thing.
No, I couldn't finish. I had to get the general grasp of it again. I stopped watching in the third act.
You made it that far? Wow.
So basically, I just wanted to get a better grasp because I knew we were going to be talking about it, and we saw it last week. So I wanted to get more of a grasp on whatever there is to talk about with this movie. I'd also like to say that at the beginning of the recording, I said that this movie was directed by Daniel Espinosa. Daniel Espinosa spoiled this entire movie on Twitter a week before it was released.
Wait, for real?
Yes. It's almost like he didn't want us to see this movie.
How did he spoil it?
He literally dropped a plot summary.
What?
I'm pretty sure it was like he just dropped spoilers for the entire movie, including the post-credit scene, which we're going to get to that.
Oh my goodness.
It's almost like they knew.
Mm-hmm.
Which is insane because the marketing for this movie was actually somewhat decent. I remember, like, I think there were some people, like, on Twitter who were plants from Sony because they made this movie sound like it was actually going to be like a sleeper.
When?
Oh, like a couple weeks before it came out, like, people were saying, like, oh, don't sleep on Morbius. Morbius is about to flip the Marvel world on its axis. Stuff like that. I swear, I saw it. Like, people were saying it was going to be like a tight race between Moon Knight and Morbius.
That's depressing.
It's sad.
No, because, well, here's the thing with industry stuff like that. For those of you that don't know, I feel like a lot of people know this at this point, but not that Rotten Tomatoes like determines everything. But if you go on Rotten Tomatoes and the RT score is not out like a few days before a movie is released, that means 9 times out of 10 the movie's trash because they're holding the review embargo to like the day before so that the RT score doesn't tank the box office. The Morbius RT score dropped like literally the night before the movie came out. So like,
which, if you don't know, the RT score is, I'm pretty sure, 16%.
I'm almost positive that's correct. Let me see.
Which, if I'm not wrong, that has got to be one of, if not the lowest rated Marvel property.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what you were like, it was literally 16%. And the audience score is 71%, but even that's not like that is.
Yeah, I was
not
about to
good.
say they're probably, the audience is always a little bit more generous than the actual critics.
do you want to hear what the audience like consensus was on Rotten Tomatoes?
What?
Morbius isn't telling the most original story, but cool visuals and fast action keep things entertaining. Would you like to talk about the cool visuals in Morbius?
I couldn't tell what was happening. The cool visuals of what?
Okay, wait. Before we trash the visuals, I will give Morbius credit. The facial transformations were really good. They were. Even if I didn't like how like the vampires looked, it was kind of freaky every time they transferred from like vampire to human. Like it was happening so quickly that I could like I couldn't catch up with what my eyes were seeing because it was so like seamless. That was actually good.
I don't think it was so surreal.
It was.
It wasn't that it was bad, like from a strictly like visual standpoint. Like it's not like it looked like bad CGI. It's the fact that the face itself was so ugly.
Yeah.
It was so hideous.
When Matt Smith turned into the vampire, I lost it.
When Matt Smith was shirtless dancing in front of the mirror, I'm not joking, I had an out-of-body experience.
I just couldn't. I couldn't. That is the exact moment where like this movie went from just like a normal bad movie to like a legitimate fever dream.
It felt like I overdosed on NyQuil while also running a 106-degree fever.
What? Like, that's so specific, but I understand somehow.
Fam, it felt like you're right. It literally felt like a dream.
Well,
It
no,
was so
yeah.
discombobulated and like disjointed. And like it felt like scenes were in the wrong order.
That you're kind of right about that, especially with just like I feel like not that I would ever want to watch more Morbius, but there was about like I feel like a solid 20 minutes of like Milo and Morbius scenes that we needed to see. Like they did not seem like best friends or brothers or what was the line? Like two crazy people against the world or something.
Oh my soul, we few. It was the Spartan line.
No, two Spartans against the world.
Yeah, it was we few against the many or something like that. Like, bro. And he said that right before Milo like died, and then he had to save him in the hospital bed when they were like 9. He was like, we few against the many.
Yeah, right. No, I remember when we were in the theater, I literally said that line was so bad he legit just killed Milo.
So okay, we're getting carried away.
Wait,
Let's
no,
talk-
but real quick before,
Yeah,
because like I don't mind going into the weeds. Can we talk about how he saved Milo? That was so bad.
Oh, with the spring.
Yes, and then after, no, literally, like he saves him with like a spring, like saving, like figuring out this machine or whatever, and then the head of the hospital or whatever is just like, you need to go to a gifted school for like gifted and talented kids. Like it was such a leap.
No, that I forgot about that. If I'm being honest, it was he like saved him, and then he was like, "No, you need to go to Charles Xavier right now."
Yeah, right.
And then he sent him to like some like bargain bin. What I guess this is a good time to get into the plot.
Yeah,
he sent him to this person. I say person. This was Jared Harris's character. I looked it up. He legitimately did not have a name.
They didn't give a name actor his character a name.
I'm not joking. I looked it up because I couldn't remember. I was like, did they? I don't remember. Like, I remember Morbius. I remember Milo. I remember Martine. What was this guy's name? And I looked it up. Do you want to know what his credit was?
What?
Morbius's mentor.
In Morbius, award-winning, renowned actor Jared Harris.
That's what I'm thinking. Jared Harris is a good actor. What was he doing?
Renowned actor Jared Harris plays the character of. That's it. No name.
Dude, no, that's really what it was. So then he sends Morbius away.
Wait, real quick before how do you go, Jared Harris? How do you go from Chernobyl to this?
They must have they had his nudes.
They had something. Either
they were blackmailing him for this movie.
Either that or he was also a Skrull.
I think everyone in this movie was a Skrull.
Except for Jared Leto. Jared Leto, that's pure.
No,
Jared
that was
Leto.
just him. That was just Jared Leto. I'm gonna get to Jared Leto.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So he sends Morbius away. But okay, I forgot to mention Morbius and Milo both have this disease, like this blood disease, where basically they don't have very good like motor skills and they can't really walk well. I don't know if this is a real disease or not.
Probably
I think it is. But anyways, so he sends Morbius away. Milo stays behind. Morbius leaves him this like letter. Milo reads it. flies out the window like a vacuum in space. It just gets like sucked out of this window. And then these like kids outside find it, and then they're like, oh, haha, you have a friend. And then they all make fun of Milo for being a cripple. And they start beating him up. To which he smacks one of them with his cane.
He had good aim.
And then he starts screaming at him. And we're supposed to believe, which Milo becomes evil later on, that was the only foreshadowing we had.
It's ridiculous.
Was that he stood up to him. He stood up to bullies, literally stomping him out.
Bro, they had the kicks going and everything.
That was too coordinated of a jumping for toddlers. that was a grown man jumping. Anyways, okay. So that's actually like I feel like that scene was like 10 minutes into the movie. So
it was.
So Morbius actually, it starts, he like gets these bats for like the cure to this disease, and he brings them back and he makes this like synthetic, like this fake blood, because he's like a really good biochemist. He keeps said bats in a giant tube in his office.
Because of course.
Not in his house, not in like the basement of the lab, his office.
In his super secret office, like, because of course no one can know about these bats.
No one can know about it,
especially not the extra walking in the hallway.
Except for Martine, that one girl who came in, the two extras that I saw walking around in the background. Other than that, no one can know about these secret Colombian vampire bats.
That's the all-star squad of like secret agents. Like, they got it on lock. They can know. No one else can.
I have in my notes here, tube of bats with 5 question marks.
I mean, fair.
Because I was genuinely confused. At the same time, because we saw this movie the first time together, at the same time, we looked at each other and we were like, he's not doing anything to like hide these bats.
I'm not going to lie, like, it was pretty bad. I feel like they just wanted a tube of bats so that they could have the shot of him, like, excuse me, standing in the tube of bats and like all of the Dark Knight ripoff shots. Like, they were just like, we need to figure out how to gather these bats in a place. We need to like bend the forces of space and time to get the, because if you think about the opening shot, he had one drop of blood, like millions of bats are swarming him.
An insane amount of bats.
So yeah, apparently plot mechanics don't matter when it comes to just getting the Dark Knight shots, but that's
I was about to say, yeah, these bats, I think, were only kept there for, well, the synthetic blood. Okay, so we're gonna jump forward a little bit, so because I genuinely forget what happened before then and what I'm about to talk about.
And I love you've watched it twice and you forgot.
I still forget
because nothing happened. Well, no. So the one thing that happened was, there was like Martine finds out and she's like, "Oh no, the bats, and you shouldn't be doing this." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna do it." And then she's like, "Okay," and that's it.
What do you mean she finds out? He just told her.
Well, no. Remember, she walked in. And
I thought he was like, I could have swore he was like, "Do you want to see something cool?" And then showed her like the canister of bats.
It was like somewhere in the middle because she was kind of like, "What are you doing?" And he was just like, I guess I'll tell you. Like, it was not. It was such manufactured drama. It like the conflict was resolved so quickly.
Right. So basically, these bats, he gets like this cure. He has this little thing. She gives him a shot, and he's cured, so to speak. He actually wakes up, and there's like these mercenaries coming to get. Weren't they on a boat? They were on a boat. That's right.
They were on a boat.
That's right. Okay, wait. When did? You know what? It doesn't matter. So they're on this boat, and he kills like 6 people. But it's okay because they were just these like mercenaries. They were bad guys. Because remember, Morbius isn't. He can't be, a gray character. He has to be a good guy because the movie's about him. So it's okay that he killed 6 people because they were mean.
Oh yeah, for sure. And of course he was out of control. Don't forget, he was totally out of control, except when he saw the beautiful woman laying on the floor. He was totally out of control. Everyone else, like,
of course,
he just saw red, like, so
I feel like
it's another reason why it was okay for them to die.
Do you think this movie was originally supposed to be rated R?
Because
I feel like it should have been way more violent. Because the sound design made it sound like he was like tearing these guys apart.
That's a good point.
And like nothing was flying. There were no like splatters. It was just kind of, they just fell over.
I mean, I feel like that's so many movies are saying, so many like comic book movies were having the same thing where it's like, this should have been rated R. This should have been rated R. I feel like at this point we should just accept there's very few comic book movies that are going to be rated R. So like honestly, I feel like it was always going to be PG-13, and that's just us wanting it to be rated R.
Right.
I don't even know if I feel like it would have been like 5% better if it was rated R, but this was an awful movie just at its core.
Oh no, yeah. This was atrocious. So, what were we? Okay. So after that, Morbius has like, it's like this long, he has this like conundrum where he has the synthetic fake blue blood that I mentioned earlier. He has that. And like that kind of quells this like hunger that he has, because if he doesn't drink blood every so often, he like starts to freak out and like almost dies or whatever. I should mention also, he drinks the blood the same exact way every single time. He like pops this like IV bag open and then just like swings his head back, and he's like and then he's like rah, rah.
He's got the Fortnite animation of like drinking juice where it's just like falling down his face, and it's just like, it doesn't even make any sense. He's just like chugging for his life, which, well, he is actually chugging for his life, but still,
he's just emoting basically.
No, yeah.
So after that, and like, the Dark Knight shots that you mentioned, at some point
he gains some personality in his character. This is where he gets personality. This is where we're 30 minutes in, and we're finally starting to understand who Michael Morbius is. Just kidding. None of that happens.
No. I don't know what Michael Morbius likes to do.
Nope.
I don't know his favorite band.
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah, I do. It's probably 30 Seconds of Mars.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it.
So Matt Smith, Milo, comes in. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Tyrese Gibson and Al Madrigal play these like cops.
Tyrese Gibson, in quotation marks, plays a cop.
I would like to have a moment of silence for Tyrese Gibson. He went from Fast and Furious, which, you know, he played a goofy character, to now he has to somehow manage to play the straight man in a vampire movie.
In an offshoot Marvel vampire movie.
Which, something else that's hilarious is he posted a picture of him and Blade, the character Blade, and he said, I think it was something like, let's run it.
Run what?
Blade has already been casted. Mahershala Ali is playing Blade. I don't know why he did that.
Bro, poor Tyrese. We could have a whole separate podcast on just Tyrese's career trajectory.
I'm gonna say it now. This was the biggest L of Tyrese Gibson's career.
Oh yeah, I feel like that is 100% the most underreported part of the entire Morbius discussion. But anyways, we're getting off track.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot that he was in the movie until I looked at the cast.
Yeah, like honestly, I mean the cops. Like, I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't expect cops to do much in shows because that's just not that's less fun, right? Unless it's a detective show, but in a normal action, like, no. But these cops were unusually bad.
Right. So I'm going to just skip ahead.
Yeah,
so,
nothing really happened.
Right. Well, because that's what the movie did. So everything that I just mentioned about Morbius needing the synthetic blood and like knowing that the real blood works better, and you know, this like moral grappling he does between, you know, continuing to do the right thing or doing what would help him in the long run more, but is morally wrong to him. I'm going to skip past that because by the time the third act comes around, the movie just kind of abandons that.
Yeah, that's a good, like, this is one thing, like, okay, full disclosure. This is one movie that I have genuinely, like, the second it came out, I have preyed on its downfall. But having watched it, there was like an interesting movie in the first 45 minutes that had to do with him being a doctor and dealing with these moral questions. Like, they just totally, and like, dude, these movies, they do this all the time. A lot of these, like, you know, Marvel movies, and no, not Marvel. I mean, like, all superhero movies, honestly. I just said Marvel because at this point I'm so used to just saying Marvel instead of superhero movies because they dominate everything. Anyways, so many of these movies, they have interesting like plot threads earlier in the movie, and then by the third act, it's just a CGI fight. Like, I mean, like, and this is, you know, another case of that. They had some stuff going on that was interesting, like you said.
Right. But the thing is, if that was the movie, if it was just him going back and forth between whether he wants to stay, you know, morally good within his own compass or break those rules a little bit for his own well-being, if it had just stayed as that, this could have been a good movie.
Case in point, not that they stuck on this stuff for too long and it was slightly different, but I don't care. The doctor part of Doctor Strange in the original movie and his relationship with Rachel Adams and all that, just the personal life content stuff was great and interesting.
Right. And I definitely believed, even after the fact, that Stephen Strange, I believed that he was a doctor. Even after the like car accident and he stopped doing like doctor things,
Yeah.
I still believed that he was a doctor. I didn't believe Morbius was a doctor for 1 second.
I did believe he was a grifter.
I believed that he was like a GQ model that somehow became a vampire.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, we mentioned before, but yeah, no, they could have done so much more just with the character of Michael Morbius. And I like, obviously, the Jared Leto hate, it's out there. I contribute to it because I feel like he does. I genuinely feel like, in terms of like his performance in this movie and his performance in the last few movies, he deserves the criticism. I won't even call it hate. I don't hate him as a person. He's whatever. But like, he brought nothing to this role. Absolutely nothing.
No.
And the weird thing is, he's supposed to be like, his whole spiel is he's a character actor. He brought, like, this is one of his most normal characters ever.
Right. It's not the Joker. It's not. He was Mr. Nobody, right?
I don't even. I think so, but I don't want to get that wrong. I haven't seen Mr. Nobody.
It's not the Joker, which he violated as well.
It's not his character in Dallas Buyers Club, which, was a huge thing.
It's not his character from Requiem either. This was such a safe role. All you had to do was pretend to be a smart, like, doctor millennial guy.
Yeah. Oh, no, all you had to do was go watch The Good Doctor or like the 10,000 other doctor shows on ABC.
Right. And then just growl a little bit. That's all you needed to do.
It was the assignment was so simple, and he still managed to misunderstand it.
It was one of the most hollow movies I think I've ever seen. And he did
that's a good word.
Nothing to help.
And like, no, hollow is a great word for it. It just like there was nothing going on whatsoever.
There was nothing salvageable about this movie.
Except for Matt Smith, kind of. But I feel like he's only getting
Matt Smith.
Kind of. Keyword kind of.
Sort of. And I'm saying that because Matt Smith was in the best scene of this movie. The only good scene of this movie. Let me rephrase that. Okay, so that kind of leads in, well, Milo, Matt Smith's character, ends up stealing, the cure. He gives it to himself because, he has that same disease that Morbius has. And he thinks Morbius is like holding out on him. So he takes it and then he kills one of the nurses that works with Morbius, trying to frame him. And in that scene, it's in one of those hallways where like it's like a bunch of lights and like the motion sensor sets off the one above you and then the one behind you goes off. And then you walk forward, then that one goes off and the one in front of you goes off, and so on and so forth. Basically, you take a step forward, light shines on you, and then it goes away as soon as you're out of the sensor. It was a really good, like a well-shot scene.
And it was scary.
And it was. Where the nurse is like walking down this hallway and it's, the lights are going on and off for her. And then out of nowhere, the first light goes on. There's no one there. It goes off. Second light, no one there. No one. And then, boom, she gets attacked and she's dead.
Yeah, and I mean, it was
It
one
was
of those,
really suspenseful. It was the only good scene in the movie.
the score was good there, and I have, we're gonna get to the third act and wrap up soon, but I do have a little tangent about the score. But the score hit, and the cinematography, the pacing was all done very nicely. That scene was great. Honestly, why not just have it be more of that?
Because
There's so much, like, this is what, dude, sometimes being a comic book fan, oh my gosh, like the commentary, it's just so like cyclical. How many times have we now said, oh, we should have horror, we should have horror, we should have horror in comic book movies? And all these directors like, yeah, I'm gonna make it more like a horror movie. Da 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 da. New Mutants, like all these other ones, and like
oh my
no one
gosh,
can,
I
no one can,
forgot about New Mutants.
right. No one can actually do it. There's just these like little flickers. And I'm like, yeah, obviously we all know it would be good. Like no one can just commit to it. Morbius would have been the perfect movie to commit.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Do you want to know what it is?
What?
Making a horror, like a horror based, like a comic book movie in the horror genre is not safe. For
No,
like,
it's very risky.
So what they do is they kind of like halfway do both, where there's like a little bit of horror, but it's not scary enough that like it doesn't feel like a comic book movie anymore. So they're going back and forth between two very different genres of like somewhat horror, and then like the modern MCU where everything is just like a joke.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, and this is a good example. Like that scene was straight up horror. Like they didn't even try to make it like super, like it was just straight up, and it was great. And like it's been shown like in so many movies, like so many comic book movies now, when you just commit to a genre and like you just don't care, you just commit. Like this, like Morbius, not thematically, but Morbius could have been another Joker type movie. Like there was a lot of potential, and you had like, look, Jared Leto is not Joaquin Phoenix, but you had that kind of actor. There's like this movie had potential. It's another reason why it's so frustrating. But in short, wrapping up like commentary about that scene, yeah, it was a good scene. It was a really good scene.
It was the only good scene.
Yeah, I would agree.
If that was the only scene, like if this was like a short film, it'd be a perfect short film. Like a short horror, like a horror short, it'd be perfect. Sadly, there was another hour and 30 minutes of other things.
Yeah, and this is a good time to. Well, I don't even know what happened in the third act, honestly.
Well, basically, we're getting into the subway scene.
It's my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh my stars.
I legitimately, bro, listen, there's been only a few moments where I've genuinely been in awe in a theater. One of them was during Dune. One of them was during Joker. One of them is during Eternals. This is number 4. I transcended. It was incredible. And I am being extremely sarcastic, but no, like one of the craziest scenes I've ever like watched made no sense whatsoever. It was absolutely, I mean, like you could try to explain what happened. I don't remember what happened. I just remember watching Matt Smith run through like goo or like atmosphere or whatever it was. It was incredible. It was so bad. Listen, for the people who have watched, which I'm assuming everyone has, unless you didn't care about spoilers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When we were watching during that scene, I just looked over at him and he was legit just like speechless. I was laughing like dying. He was gone. Like legit gone.
I wanted to get up and leave. I wanted to run away.
Genuinely one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Basically, for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, which good on you, but basically, Matt Smith reveals himself to be a vampire to Morbius. I keep calling him Matt Smith. I should call him by his character's name. But yeah, you're right. So they like this fight ends up breaking out in like, oh yeah, Morbius went to prison. It doesn't matter. He got out.
Yeah, right. Basically,
so they start fighting, and it spills out into the subway station. Matt Smith starts running at Morbius, and then it goes into slow motion. Morbius puts his hand up, and he like starts listening with like this like sonic, whatever hearing that bats have.
Because Morbius can do it. He can fly. He can walk on water. He can do everything.
And of course. And I'm not kidding. This was a good minute and a half. And it felt like an entire day of Milo as a vampire, like his face, which I should say, before I continue, the faces of these vampires, I said earlier that it was ugly. The faces looked like pugs that were being melted.
No, you're literally right. Oh my god.
Like really angry pugs in an oven.
Oh my gosh. Really angry pugs in the broiler.
So, Matt Smith, Milo, whatever his name was.
Marcus, Lucian, Skywalker. Lennox, I don't know.
So Milo Skywalker is...
Go on.
He's running at Morbius, and it keeps going back and forth between him running in slow motion and Morbius holding up his hand in slow motion, like the wind. Like you can see the wind going past them both because it looks like this weird, like tangible, like stringy thing,
and
it's
if
like
you
moving.
If you think we're going on too long about this, then watch the movie. This is how long it felt.
it legitimately felt like an entire day.
No, actually.
Like, it felt like a third of the movie's runtime was this one scene. All of that. And guess what happened? Morbius jumps in front of a subway and like flies in front of it and then gets away.
And then, it was ridiculous. And yeah, it was so dumb. Also, just real quick, how, like, right before that scene, right, when Milo was like, come with me, let's just be evil, like, whatever. That was so rushed. Like, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like, literally, he was like, I love how he was just like, be evil with me. And Jared Leto's like, no, I don't like being evil is bad. And Milo's just like, okay, we're not friends anymore.
I guess you gotta die.
No, yeah. I mean, like that's how it goes, but like, it was so to the point. But yeah, so like Jared Leto escapes, and then the what is it, like the third act fight at the end, right? That's the last thing that happens.
Well then, oh my soul. So then he leaves. Like Morbius, he's with Martine, and he leaves for whatever reason. He finds these guys. I swear on my life, I'm trying to give like a good summary of this plot. But I was so confused the whole time. Both times! I still don't know. Oh, that's what it was. He needed a new lab. So he went to this random, like, underground bunker with, like, this gang. And then he scared them all off because, he's a vampire and it's scary. And then to one of them, the guy's like, oh, who are you? And he goes, I am Venom.
Oh, yeah.
Why did he say that?
And in the trailer, he was like, I'm joking, right?
Yeah, in the trailer, he was like, oh, I'm just kidding. But in the movie, he didn't. And the guy just ran away.
That would have been his best character moment in the movie, and they took it out. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I have no idea why they name drop Venom.
It makes no sense.
I suppose just because, just to tie in those two movies, just to say, hey, look.
Well, you know what? Yeah, no, here, I'm going to call an audible. Like, real quick. So, just to quickly, for the rest of the plot, not much else happens. I mean, like, there's a few just, like, plot mechanics. I don't know, he's going places, doing things, and then, Milo catches up with him. They fight, in the air, and it's, like, vampire fights and whatever, and he died, I think. I don't remember. It doesn't... Yeah, I think he died.
Well, I want to talk about the fight, but yeah, go on.
Well, the reason why we also should mention, we should talk quickly about the end credit scenes, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So, weird Venom name drop. All that happens. Milo captures Martine.
Yeah, that's the other part that I didn't mention.
Morbius goes to find them. Oh yeah, because Martine and Morbius are in love.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And so he goes, they fight. It's a complete hodgepodge. I couldn't follow what was happening.
If you thought the Venom 2 end fight scene was bad, this one was worse.
Oh my soul.
And I like Venom.
The Venom Let There Be Carnage fight scene looks like an Olympic finals fencing match.
It looked like the train scene in Shang-Chi. Compared to this
vomit of a scene. Where they did that thing where it's like slow-mo and then it slows down so you can like see like their faces. Morbius gets the absolute brakes beaten off of him. Like, our hero got into 2 fights with someone on like of his caliber. The first time he ran away, and the second time he got handed such an unholy L.
It was bad.
And then the bats came back, and he like used the vampire force to use these bats as weapons against Milo. And then Milo, I guess he died.
So keep
Martine
this in perspective.
is a vampire now.
Oh yeah.
He like saved her and turned her into a vampire, so she's a vampire now. I guess if this movie gets a sequel, which I hope it doesn't, that might be expanded on.
They're retconning this entire thing.
Oh, I hope so.
They got to. It's bad. It's that bad.
And then, movie ends, right? It's just over there. Right? I think that was it.
Yeah, only thing I wanted to mention about the way that fight scene ended. So, excuse me. So, he can fly. He's got like echolocation powers. All it's like it's like the Daredevil type powers. He's got all this stuff, right? but he wins by basically being Ant-Man. You know how Ant-Man controlled all the ants. So he was like, at the end of the day, after all that, he gets the bats to do like what?
How interesting would it have been if like the whole time Morbius was like learning the actual ins and outs of these powers and how to use them like tactfully in a combative situation, just in case he ever had to. And on the flip side, Milo was just running around tearing up random people. They get into a fight. Milo tries to use just like brute power. It works for a little bit. Morbius like weathers the storm, and then he starts using the actual like technical like prowess of these abilities. Nope. That's not how it goes.
We had one training montage, but that's to be expected.
And instead he just throws some bats at him, and then the movie ends.
Oh, forgot to mention, he's also ripped. Like when he just...
Oh, yeah.
At some point in the movie, he just decided to get ripped. But yeah, anyways, Milo dies. Martine's a vampire, so she's Lady Morbius. We love that. And then we get into the end credit scenes, which honestly... I didn't want to see Michael Keaton in this anywhere near this movie. And I love Michael Keaton, and that's why I want to protect him.
This was not his fault.
They're throwing him into the fire, and he does not deserve it.
If you went into this movie with the expectation that Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, or the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, was going to be in this movie, rightfully so, because...
He was in a trailer.
He was in the trailer, in a scene that wasn't in the movie. If that was the only reason you came to see this movie, was because of a possible, interaction or like dichotomy between Morbius and the Vulture, I'm sorry. That's not what happens.
At all.
Vulture, Adrian Toomes, gets Doctor Stranged for some reason. I'm assuming this is the No Way Home thing, where everyone just got brought into Tom Holland's universe.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Vulture got taken out and put into the Venom universe with Morbius.
They're just using, my thoughts are they're just using now, and it's smart, but they're now just, the multiverse is just going to be a plot device to move characters around. Like how Venom, they did all those end credit scenes, basically did a big pump fake just so that Eddie could leave a little drop of Venom in the MCU and not actually be there. At this point, the multiverse portal thing is just a cheat code.
But that was important.
Yeah, no, it's just because we thought Eddie Brock was going to be in the MCU, and he's not, most likely.
Well, no, he wasn't, but he left behind
Venom other
symbiote.
Yeah.
Which is definitely going to be used in Tom Holland's next trilogy.
Oh, yeah. No, what I'm saying is if they wanted to get Vulture out of the MCU, if they didn't feel like it didn't fit for whatever reason, just use the portal stuff and just dump him in Morbius.
But what?
I don't know why.
Jail.
I don't know. I don't know why.
So he pops up in this jail. They take him out, and that's the end of that end credit scene. Next end credit scene, because there's got to be two, was basically a Subaru ad. yeah. He's cruising down the street. Jared Leto's cruising down this road in a very nice car. it legitimately looked like an ad for a car.
It did.
Vulture comes in his suit, with his mask on, which means that definitely wasn't Michael Keaton under that mask.
And they meet in like a field, right? Something like that.
It's like a random field.
It was like a random like lot, but yeah, I mean, they meet.
They whatever. And then with dialogue I would use when playing with my action figures at the age of 4. Adrian Toomes basically says, I think I'm here because of Spider-Man. A couple of guys like us could team up and do something. Morbius says, intriguing. And it's over. That's where it ends.
And then
that's it.
And then the intensely horrid title card comes up. The purple and blue title card.
Oh, my stars.
One final point about this that we did not mention. That this is my soapbox. One of them about this movie. And I haven't seen a lot of other commentary on it, but granted, I could have just missed it. The score was one of the worst scores I've ever heard. Every single scene was a violin swell with these goopy, muddy violins that sounded terrible. Every single scene, it was just soup. It was so bad. There was no like people. I'm not like, I'm into music, but I'm not being like, people know a good score. People know Infinity War had a great score. People know a good score when they see it. Star Wars, right? Like, there's tension. Sometimes like the drums kick in. It matches the vibe. Every single scene in this movie ended with a big violin swell, even when nothing was going on. Mm-hmm. And of course, they played this nasty orchestra like over, the end credit scene, like reveal and all that stuff, and then through the credits. And the end. Morbius, best movie of the year.
Oh, something I forgot to mention. Milo kills Morbius's mentor, Jared Harris.
Harris, aka the moment of silence that we needed to give to Tyrese Gibson.
Jared Harris went out sad, and he deserved it for agreeing to be in this movie.
Tyrese and other guy just disappeared, and
nothing happened with them.
Yeah, they literally like legit just disappeared. The Tube of Bats is probably still very much a Tube of Bats. Anything I'm trying to think of other pressing matters in this movie.
There were none.
Yeah, right?
The only thing I can hope for this movie is that Blade shows up and kills Morbius.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I'm trying to think of like an example of like this happening where they retconned a character because of the amount of backlash.
Mandarin.
Yeah, okay.
So like they could definitely retcon. Like they will. Like, don't even worry about it.
I need something like that. Like I need a Spider-Man movie where the Sinister Six, let's just say like Vulture, Venom, Morbius, and 3 other people. I don't know. Let's just say they all go after Tom Holland. I need Morbius to be the first one to die.
I need Morbius to be in that explosion that killed off half of the cast of Suicide Squad, the reboot.
Yes.
Like just immediate first 5 minutes. Jared Leto's Morbius is gone. Forever.
I need him to be annihilated.
Yeah, no.
This movie took years off my life. I want to say in my notes, after the bullet point, after post-credit scene, there's another bullet point with just a frowny face.
I don't blame you.
I was so sad that I had to think about this movie again.
Oh my gosh. No, it was bad, but I mean, do you have anything else? I feel like we went in an excruciating detail about the cinematic genius of this movie.
Please, for the love of God, because I know there's like rumblings about Andrew Garfield being in the same, like his Spider-Man being in the same universe as Venom.
Bro, that's probably why he took a break from acting.
Ergo, yeah.
The rumors hit, he was like, I need to take a break from acting. It's a smart man.
He really saw Morbius and said, he saw Morbius and dipped.
Bro, people just die when they're around Morbius. Milo died.
Milo died.
Andrew Garfield's career came to a screeching halt. But yeah, no, keep him out of this. You keep him away from this mess.
Please. After The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the mess that was with, this is not the way to resurrect Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. No. Please. If anyone who works for Sony is listening, please, for the love of God, leave Andrew Garfield alone. Lose his number right now.
I don't think he would. I don't think he would even take it.
One person to another, please do me this solid.
Yeah, we can't have that. We cannot have that.
What are your final thoughts here?
My final thoughts are pretty much that this movie is exactly what I thought. Well, no, that's not true. It's legitimately, genuinely worse than I thought it would be when I watched the trailer. Keep in mind, I was dragged to see this. I did not want to go see Morbius because I knew how bad it would be from the first trailer. I was not tricked by the trailer, but like it was me, Matt, and a group of friends, and we basically like, oh, let's go as a joke or whatever. Like it was like spontaneous. So like I knew this movie was bad, and I was not going into the theater initially to just laugh at it until I did. So I knew it was going to be bad. It ended up being way worse than I could have thought it would ever be. And I don't care. It's Jared Leto's fault. It's Jared Leto's fault and some other people too, but it's your job as the flagship actor to bring something to the table.
This was Jared Leto, the movie.
Yeah, right?
No, because that was the whole point of having him as Morbius, was like, look, we got Jared Leto.
Yeah. No, yeah. So that's why I feel like it is not unfair to say a lot of this, like, granted, like, look, I know the pandemic, like lots of just like studio stuff, but
the movie would have been bad in 2020 as well.
Yeah, no, like they just did not. No. So yeah, I mean those are my final thoughts. It was fun to watch though, with friends.
Oh,
but
let me tell you something. Watching this by myself was a vortex.
That sounds like that. Whatever place you were in is beneath the sunken place.
I was in hell's basement.
No, yeah, like
it was horrid.
I can imagine. I would never. When you told me that, I genuinely thought you were crazy for a second. No, wow. Like I legit. My thoughts were, wow, he's dedicated. Could not be me.
I needed to refresh my memory because I actually forgot about all of this.
You're better than me. But yeah. I mean, those are my thoughts. Next up, we're going to be covering much better much better stuff, we're going to be covering all of season 4, part 2 of Ozark. So, be on the lookout for that. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure it'll be much, much better than what we had to endure with Morbius.
Also, let us know if there's anything we should take a look at and
it can be good or bad. It could be good or bad.
We don't mind either way, because even with a bad property, it's still fun to record.
Yeah, no. So if you guys, let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought of this. If there was anything any like odd, weird, specific thing about Morbius that we didn't, cover that, you thought was dumb or even good, whatever, drop that in the comments, just, be active down there. And yeah, just stay tuned for next time. We've got Ozark season 4, part 2 coming up.
What was your rating for this movie?
For the movie? We're doing
out of 5.
This movie doesn't. My rating for this movie was not available. That was my rating for this movie. What about you?
I'll give it a 0.5.
That's fair.
A 0.5, and that 0.5 would be a 0.3 if it wasn't for that hallway scene.
That's fair. And the other like 0.3 like percentage points are from Matt Smith. That's it. That's fair. 0.5. It's official. That's the official rating from Panda Lounge Podcast. 0.5 for Morbius. There you go.
0.5 out of 5.
Yep. So that's all I've got. That's all you've got as well, right? Nothing else. Nothing else you got to cover.
No, I never want to think of.
Did you just throw away the notes?
Yes, I did. I never want to think about this movie again.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening, and yeah, be on the lookout for Ozark season 4, part 2 coming up most likely next week. So we'll see you guys later.
Yep, take it easy.